Hello. So we're back, and forgive me, I just had to run out for a second, so I paused the video, and we're right back where we started off. You'll see while we were gone, I saved the After Effects project. It's important to always save your projects because you never know when the lightning storm's going to hit your power surge box and you're going to go out, or your computer's going to crash, or So I always encourage you to save multiple different versions of your project as you progress and add on to it, because After Effects tends to get a little bit nitpicky when you have really, really intricate advanced projects. For something like this, it shouldn't be an issue. It's only a few layers with very few effects on them, but I've been in situations where I've had over hundreds of layers with dozens of effects, plugins running, and After Effects is notorious for crashing when you do that kind of stuff. So save your project is always a good habit, and you never know when you want to go back and change something down the road. So it's important to do that. So we left off basically having these three layers in place. The logo we scaled up, and we added the lens flare and the shine with it. So that's where we are right now. So the next thing I really want to do is something called a particle dispersion technique, and you probably have also heard about this. This is using the plugin called Form by Trapcode, same manufacturer and software as Shine. And this, I don't have anything to show you right now, but as we go, you'll kind of see what we're trying to accomplish. But essentially, we're going to take this FX logo, and we're going to turn it into a bunch of little pixels that kind of come in and form this FX logo, which will complete the process of the sequence that we're trying to go for. So I'll say I'll probably have it come in at around 5 or 6 seconds, and then we'll have the few seconds of it just kind of sitting there solid. So to start off, the very first thing I have to do is I have to make sure that I have a, let me see, this has to be a composition, and I don't know why exactly it has to be a composition, but for some reason it's only really worked when I've done this, and from other, watching other people do this when I was learning, they seem to always have in comps. So we're going ahead and create a composition just for the go with the flow. So go up to layer, and instead of creating one, we're going to pre-compose this. So we're essentially going to take our layer and put it in a comp. So we're not going to create a new comp, but we're going to go up to layer and say pre-compose. And that will, and we can also, keep this the same name. And if I come back to my main comp, you'll see we still have the logo right there. And it's still being rasterized, I believe. Let me just make sure that's... yeah, so it looks like you want to make sure this is rasterized when you are... Just make sure they're always rasterized. It's very important when you're working with the image itself. And you'll see the shine also. The shine's not as important because it's using a plugin, but the actual logo needs to be rasterized. So we have it in a composition now. I want to create a new, let me see, I think I want to create a new solid, and I'm going to call this form, and make sure it's the same comp. And I'm going to drop the form plugin on this form comp right here. And that is going to be placed on top of our FX logo. And you'll see right now it just looks this little grid box right here. So we have to change some of the parameters to make it replicate what we want it to look like. So you're going to come into the base form, and we're essentially going to match the comp size right here. So 1920 by 1080, and for the Z depth, I don't think this really matters. I haven't really changed this, and it doesn't really affect it because it's going to be flat. But if we were in 3D space, you can see that would kind of matter. But since it's a flat thing, it doesn't And then particles are next. We also want to match the comp size because we want to particle every pixel, right? Because that will fill it up. 1920 by 1080, and whatever your comp size is, you want to make sure you match that. Oh, and also here, you want to make sure that that's 1, because you do want 1 particle in place. So give it a second to catch up, and you'll see that it fills the whole space. So now that we have that done, we also want to come into the layer maps, and color and alpha. This is going to copy the layer you want it to copy or to replicate. So under layer right here, we want to go down to the logo, and functionality, we want to make sure it is RGBA, and the map over, we want it to be the X and Y. And that will, you can't tell now, but if I were to turn off the visibility of the logo, you'll see now we have the form logo replicating our other logo, and that's exactly what we want to accomplish. So it still has the effects, and let's just make sure everything's looking good. Okay, good. So it also scales up, which is important because we want to make sure it's scaling like the other one is. So it looks like it's all in place, and that's good. So here's where the magic happens. We want to come down to fractal strength and disperse, and we want to make sure that these are set to the logo and the logo and XY, XY, and let me just make sure this is right. So if I come to here and I tweak it, okay, that's right. Okay, good. So it's kind of a preview of what we're going to do, but let me just go ahead and go 0 here, and now we have it all set up for some keyed animation. So the fractal strength and disperse are, you know, how the logo is going to disperse. It's going to disperse in the X and Y coordinates, and the fractal strength is, you know, how strong it's going to pull them apart and stuff like that. So we have this all set up, which is good. So we'll go ahead and just minimize these, and then we're going to come down to disperse and twist like I did earlier, and you'll see that when I drag this up, it's going to pull the logo into particles away from itself. And if I just twist it, it's going to do all this crazy stuff. And, you know, this is where you can kind of use your imagination and figure out how you're going to tweak it. But, you know, for the most part, I'm going to keep this very simple. You know, you can learn a lot from using form itself. But we're just going to kind of have it come in over time. And I'll just kind of play around and see. And you'll also notice that your shine layers coming through. So we're probably going to want to toggle the opacity of this, the shine, to come on later so it doesn't show through without the logo. But that's something we can worry about after this. So I said I wanted basically at 5 or 6 seconds it to be fully complete. So let's just say 5.5 seconds. I will bring this down to 0, and I will press the stopwatch, and then I will come back to the 0 point, and I will bring this up to the 1,000 points it was just at, right? So let me see, why is it doing that? So okay, so this, what you're seeing here, this is the shine layer, right? And that's because the shine layer itself hasn't been illuminated yet. So again, we're going to want to toggle that off, but let's not worry about this a second. Let's just kind of see what this looks like when I put the form layer back on. And I'm going to go ahead and just render this out and see if we can see what it looks like in real time.